Going on, babe?
Why are you smiling at me like that?
I love you. No, yeah, so we're still here. after our last couple of episodes, I mean, we got a lot of great feedback on it. Obviously, it was a lot of different type of topics, but I wanted to this podcast, like this episode, to kind of be about, because I've been getting a ton of questions about, what are things you have to think about when you first start a business, right? And I feel that if you ask that question to a lot of different people, I think that question is answered differently, obviously, because it's different for everybody, right? But we hear about our perspective and not your perspective. Like, what is it at home? The things that you have to deal with, the things in all the stresses that you have with, supporting somebody that is trying to start a business, and this fine line, this dance, so much that you have to say of like, of support and prioritizing your time at home too,
Yeah, it's super hard.
So I think it's like let's just start with us, right? Like, I think it was a conversation that you and I had, right? I think we've touched upon it before, where you had mentioned about that you were still working, right? Like, or you went back to work.
No, so I was gonna go back to work after Selena, but then I felt like I couldn't, remember?
Right.
At that point, you were still working for your other company, but we had started to talk about you going out on your own.
Right, because I think I ended up, after I got my license and I realized they were never going to pay me enough to live next door to them, that I'm like, well, I want something better for us.
Yeah. It was scary at that point because I wasn't working. So I think the biggest thing was health insurance, right? Because in Massachusetts, you have to have it. It's mandatory, or you pay a fine when you do your taxes.
Right. And I think that at that time, you ended up looking up what would be health insurance for us, and that because we were such a new business, that we're eligible for certain programs. And I think that was something that was huge, because obviously
we paid a lot less than what we pay now for it. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, well, that's going to be, as we start going, as this conversation unfolds, right? We'll start getting into the reality of what it is to have employees and run a business and have a household, and we'll talk about our financial thermostats, right? But
yeah, I mean, it was it's weird, right? Because when you said you wanted to go out on your own, I was like, okay. I had full faith in you at that point, obviously, because we've spoken before. We started the business with nothing. I mean, it's not like we had this gigantic savings account or anything.
I'm pretty sure we're living paycheck to paycheck.
We were, right? So it's kind of crazy to think now that I was just like, yeah, okay, do it. I'm sure you'll make enough money to pay the bills. Because I wasn't working. It's not like we had some other form of guaranteed income. Okay, at least we have $1,000 coming in every other week or something, right? We had literally nothing. It was hopefully you make enough. I mean, it was kind of irresponsible.
Yeah, it was kind of. Well, it really was. It was just we had a mortgage, we had a house, we had our house, we had our mortgage, we had bills, we had our kids' stuff,
groceries, right?
Groceries, we had all these things. And it definitely wasn't fiscally responsible of us. But the thing is that it's one of those things. I think in telling the story, it's to kind of get it out there that if you want to do it, just start and just do it, and that there's nothing that can stop you. It's kind of like being a parent. You can read all the books, you can try and be as prepared as you want to be. Nothing's ever going to prepare you for it when you start living it. And it's just well, this wasn't in the book. Yeah, it's nothing. It's not in the book. I'm not saying you should go into it blind. I think having an understanding as far as having some idea of what it is. We literally went into it blind. We're just fuck.
I mean, we did, but I had, and I think this kind of goes into the conversation that we want to have. Like, I had full faith in you that you would make it happen because, like, to me, it's like you always have made everything happen for us. So I'm like, well, why wouldn't he make this happen?
Right. And that was like one thing, but those are the conversations that we need to have. I remember that was a conversation in the beginning where I said, I was like, listen, there's going to be times that if we're going to do this, like, I'm going to have late days. I'm going to have to work weekends. I may have to work nights. Like, obviously, I'm going to try not to, but it's like we're in the beginning. Like, I went from doing large-scale commercial projects to going back to putting in light switches, outlets, replacing lights, like troubleshooting, like little things. Like, I'm literally making like $125 to $175 per job.
Right. I mean,
like
I think,
little service calls, like doing little things and like never saying no.
Right.
Because at that point, you know, we can't say no. Like we need money. Like it was just one of those things, and it was starting out. And obviously, I'm somebody that, yes, I've been in the trade, but no one's known me as a business. I'm nobody. I'm a ghost. I'm just somebody that all of a sudden has a truck.
Yeah.
And I can do an electrical, like
literally.
And that was it. And
it's crazy to think like how you're saying, like you would literally say no to nothing, and like now like the large scale projects that you're like, yeah, no, I'm not going to do it.
Well, it's so funny how like we went from not saying, like we had to like we never said no to kind of like, yeah, like we have a $500 minimum. Like like if you want us to get out to your door right now, it's $500 minimum for us to get just your door.
Yeah.
And
that's what I'm saying. Like, and now you're like, oh no, I'm not going to do this, 6,000 square foot house or whatever.
Right. yeah.
Crazy. Like before you'd be like,
you also do your 6,000 square foot house.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, you're not taking every job that gets thrown your way. Like, you can't anymore.
It can, right? Because the other thing is too, it's and that goes into reputation, right? Like it's just a matter of that if we have a commitment, we want to honor those commitments.
Right.
We want to basically put on full focus. We're not going to stretch ourselves so thin that where we can sacrifice our quality, because that's essentially what it is we've become known for.
Yeah,
so
been known for it. I think, it's just interesting to go from like, yes, I'll be, at your door in a half hour to switch out your plates,
Yeah. Till like, yeah, exactly. It is kind of crazy, but it's the beginning. But, I remember that it was these conversations that we really needed to have of and making sure that you are okay with it. And then also telling you my needs that I would need. Like, I'm like, hey, like if I'm feeling this way, this is what I need from you. And that was like a big thing. Cause like, I think that's where it's so tough. I think, especially for us as men, like we don't know if we can be that way. Like, or if we can communicate. A lot of guys, I think, struggle with communicating what they need.
Yeah.
And we just deal with it.
Yeah, it's stoic, right?
Correct.
Like, I'm just gonna, like, this is what I need to do, and I'm just gonna do it, and I'm not gonna express that I need anything further because, like, I'm the man. I need to provide. I need to be the one that's, like, protecting the house. If I have these feelings, like...
Right. And it's also, like, the guilt that we carry, too. Like, is obviously, it's like, if we have kids, like, us not being there, the sacrifices that we put into that, I think also becomes another point. But I think it's for us, it's like we kind of settle for it. It's not something that we talk about, but it's something that I feel like could also become a problem, right, in a marriage. That it's because ultimately at the end of the day, like, you also want me home too. Like, you want me to be there. Like, I'm a father, I'm a husband. Like,
yeah, it's super hard. I think, interestingly enough, it's harder now than it was at the beginning. Even though, like, you were running around everywhere and stuff, you didn't have the scale of work that you have now, right? So you could be home. And the kids were younger. There were less commitments for them, right?
Right.
Just even speaking to Camila and Selena, like, they were not even 1 and 2 when you started the business, right? So if you were out a late night or whatever, I'd have to explain that to them. Now, It's, where's daddy? Why is he still working? Why isn't daddy here? Is daddy coming? I want daddy. Like, there's a lot more questions that have to be answered and explained to them, I think, as they've gotten older. And it's really, really difficult. Like, I don't know. I could probably do more episodes with trades wives because it's a difficult position to be in, to cognitively know that you need to work this much or else we can't have the life that we have, but also like, I need you to be home.
Right.
It's super hard.
It is.
It's
and like,
really difficult.
And that's why I think it's like, there's times like you've had to say to me, be like, hey, listen, like you're home physically, but you're not home.
Yeah, that's another thing.
And that's another big thing, right? Like that's something that, like, when I think about it, is something that I really have to work hard at. One thing I've always been great about it, I never brought work home with me.
Right, but now home is work.
Home is work, yeah. It's all these different things.
When you work for somebody else, if you had a bad day, at some job when you were at another company, I mean, you opened the door and you were happy to see us, and that was it. Like, you are great at that. Like, not moody, like nothing like that. Like, you can shut it down. Like, you had a bad day at work, you're not bringing that bad day.
I don't make you pay for a steak, get in.
Exactly. Yeah. You're not bringing that into the house. But now, not saying that you're moody, but you are bringing work home because you have to. Because if you were at a job site all day, that means that there's stuff on the back end that wasn't getting done, right? Like, maybe a lot of people don't know, like, you're the one billing, you're the one estimating, right. You're the one, answering emails, like doing all that stuff.
Scheduling.
Yeah.
And all these other different things, right?
Making sure the guys go where they need to go, making sure they're okay, like that type of thing, right? So I think it's impossible for you not to, like, have those feelings or be, thinking about work when you're home, because it is home. Your office is in our bedroom. Like, it's just what it is, right? And it's difficult for me because, like, a non-negotiable in our house is that we all eat dinner together, right? We all sit down to dinner together every night, and no one's allowed to have their phones. But you would bring your phones to the table and you'd put them upside down. But if they went off, or even if you didn't bring them to the table, if your watch goes off, and then you're like, well, this is just, I just got to do this. Like, and I'm like, no, come on. Like, this is the 1/2 hour that we're asking of you all day. Like, we wouldn't let the kids do this. You can't do this. Like, nothing is going to happen to Figaro Electric in the 1/2 hour that we're eating dinner and having these conversations with each other.
Yeah. I think, like, I'll never forget that you and I went out for a walk, and we were walking, and you're like, I have to just get this off my chest. And, like, you hit me with it. Like, you were basically like, you're on your phone way too much when you're home. And exactly with how you said it, like, the company's not going to fall apart in that 1/2 hour or that 45 minutes that you're there. And I listen to you. I'm like, what? Like, you're right. Like, I'm sorry. Like, it's one of those things that I think as a provider, the stresses of us providing that, to us, it's like, it's so critical that, and like, we're in like this building phase, we're just kind of like, no, like we have to do, like, I have to do that, because if I don't answer that, then you just go somebody else, and then that's a lost opportunity. I don't know what that opportunity is. Right. And rather than me being confident in my ability, the fact that someone's calling me because of my reputation that I've built. And that's something that it's hard. And it's obviously humbleness in the sense of that, like, understanding that, like, there's other people out there that do what I do. Like, and there's other people that can provide those services and provide a solution and all these different things. Right. So it's a matter of, like, it's like that sense of urgency that we'll feel, that I'm like, I can't let my family down. Like, and it's in getting back to like like something that you kind of started off at, you know, that feeling of, you mentioned it about it just like the stresses and bringing it home. And now it is like, you do bring it home. It is tough. Like, there are days that you've had to keep me together, and because we have money out in the street.
Yeah.
And like, to kind of even go back even further, like in the beginning, right? I think it was a lot easier. It was just myself. Yes, I was working harder, but obviously we're making way more money, and it was nice. But I think back to it at the time, and like we said it before, I'm like, all right, I just have to make $500 today. That's all I have to make.
I mean, we had a mortgage that was a third of the mortgage that we have now, right? I mean, but we couldn't fit in that house. I mean, that we had to move.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, we had like a $1,200 mortgage at the time. It was just myself.
Yeah, no payroll.
Yeah, I had no payroll. I had workers' comp on myself, and then I had like general liability, and then that was it. Like, it was just
the kids
cheapest of the cheapest, right?
They want, sports and phones, and now we're talking about cars, and I mean, there's just
private school, like
the kids are going to private school. It's like there's just so much. Preschool is expensive,
right?
Like
so like
dance, gymnastics, right? Like
sports. It's all these different things, and so like let's talk about like financial thermostat, right? Like, in the sense of that, here we are focusing so much on, we just need to make this much in order to survive. And at that point, we were so busy, and I was burning myself out because I was doing everything, and I'm cleaning up, I'm setting up, and then days are getting longer. So with that, I hired my first guy. I hired Jake. And I remember saying to you, I'm like, how the hell am I going to support this kid?
Yeah.
How the hell am I going to support him and support his family, like, and do this? And like, I remember just panicking, but I'm like, but just like you always said, it's like, you always figure it out.
Always. And that's what I always tell you. Like, I think like sometimes you just need me to say it like that. That it's just like, we've always been okay. Like, it always.
It's tough.
I know it's
so, it's so hard because like then, exactly. So like, little did I know, my financial thermostat is raised up because now I need to make more. And so therefore I would make adjustments to how I moved and how I did things, and how I would market myself, how I would brand myself, and things I would do. And then, we got to a point where we were so busy, and I'm like, shit, like, I need another guy. And then now, like, Joel came into the fold. So then I'm like, oh my God, how the hell can I keep all three of us busy? And then we sold Lynn. We moved the house. Like, we bought a bigger house, like, which is like we tripled our mortgage in payment. Now we had, payroll. We had workers' comp. We had health insurance, dental. We had all the kids' sports. Now we're paying for oil. Like, we're like, all these.
Yeah, electric on a way bigger house, right? Like,
all these different things that we're now changing and adjusting, right? And it's all these different things that we're now accommodating for, and it's like essentially we had to raise that thermostat even higher now. And I keep on mentioning this, and that's because of like, just recently I just started to understand this, and which is through a book that it was referred to us by Andrew Litchfield, Penny Investments, which the book was an incredible book, and it really did change my mindset on it. And it was Secrets of the Millionaire Mind.
Yeah.
And kind of creating this abundance mindset and understanding what your financial thermostat is and what your financial blueprint is, right?
Right, yeah, because it's so interesting. Like, you would be like so stressed about, say like how much money was in like the business account or whatever. Yeah. And I'd be like, okay, really? Like, that number is more than I've ever seen in a bank account in my entire life. Right? But that's not creating an abundance mindset, right? Like, that's not saying like, well, yeah, like that might be higher than anything that we've ever seen, but that money is also not all ours. That goes to payroll, that goes to insurance, that goes to material. Like,
Right.
you know, it's there's just a lot more that goes into it. So I think like learning that, and I think we probably could and should do a whole nother episode about like how, like just like money in general, and like, you know,
be on the same page about it, and then understanding your financial blueprint and your financial thermostat, and understanding that like, and how much of being a business owner and starting out is mindset. Like you need to get your shit straight and get it together, but it's not just yourself, it's also your significant other. Like you I could not have done this without you. Like I've said this so many damn times. Everyone says, I was like, I could not have done this without the support of you. It's impossible. Like my dreams and where we are today and everything that we do is through your support, through your love. It's something that it's, you know, like us together and us unified, nothing can stop us.
yeah.
And I think that that's something that a lot of guys will like, you see it sometimes just like, oh, I'm an army of one, or the wolf pack, like I'm a lone wolf, or it's stuff like that. There are certain parts of this journey that you will have to do alone. Without a doubt, there are things, there were times I had to do things alone. However, there's always strength in numbers. There's always strength in having that somebody else there, because guess what? You're not going to be strong all the time. You're not gonna, this business can break you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've had those conversations where I've sat there and been like, babe, like,
to the point of tears. Like,
yeah.
it's being so damn stressed out about how the hell am I going to make payroll, because there's sometimes that your bank account's doing this because you're getting paid and money, like it's coming in the back door, flying out the back door.
Yeah.
And
no, but like I was saying, like that I would literally be like, babe, if you don't want to do this anymore, like it's fine. Like it's okay. Right. Like we can, you know, while at the same time, like also letting you know, like, if you do want to keep doing this, I'm going to be behind you. Like I'm going to support you. Like I want to support you through all the ups and downs of it. From my perspective, being a stay-at-home mom, that's really hard because I feel like I can't support you with anything tangible, right? We've talked about this so much, like that I'm like, well, I could be taking so much off your plate right now if I was bringing in a paycheck, right? And I've said it like so many times.
And we've tried it.
And it just doesn't work for us right now. And you've said like it creates more stress for us, right? Because then like,
well, you know what it is that like, I think at that point we realize how pivotal your role is at home, and the how important the role of the stay-at-home mom, like that was something like for us, like you're our hub. That's right. It's exactly the way how I put it to you. I'm like, you're our hub. Like the only reason why this works is because you're in the middle. You're that main gear, and you're driving like you're moving this train.
Yeah. But I just think like for me, it's like when you're feeling really down or like just stressed about all the money that we have out or whatever, like I'm like, what can I offer this guy right now? Like, we'll be okay, babe. We'll be okay.
It's like there.
Yeah. You know, like it is hard. It's like, oh my God, he has all this stress, and like me not making any money, like that adds to it, right? Because, or I guess maybe not adds to it, but like
it doesn't alleviate
it.
Correct.
Right.
And that's just the thing. It's just like there's times that like you and I have had this conversation and we've gotten into it in the sense of that you're telling me like I just feel bad, like what if I just went to work and I said this? I'm like, it's just not going to work for us, because then I have to leave early because now I have to go grab the kids, or you and I become two ships in the night, and where it's like, because you're working because you want to be there for the kids, then you're carrying this thing, and then what quality of life is that for us?
Well, right, because I mean we're barely seeing each other as it is some weeks, right?
The best thing is that like we we always said like our marriage is first in this, and like it's something that I really want to touch upon in this. And like I've sacrificed a lot to this trade, into this business. I've sacrificed friendships. I've sacrificed, relationships. I've sacrificed a lot. I've lost a lot to this. And it's something that I feel not a lot of people understand, that it's a balance of things. There's also things that, life changes, you grow out of people. There's people that are meant to be in your life for seasons.
Yeah.
And they're not meant to be there forever and stuff like that. And they serve the role. Like everyone serves a purpose in your life. Even the people that hurt you, they play their role perfectly.
Yeah.
And it's because those people are people that, because of what role they played, made you the person you are today. They give you that perspective. They give you that outlook. They play their role perfectly. And it's something like, even if you go against me, I appreciate you because you taught me something. And this goes into mindset about it. And so like, same thing. It's like those times that, like you mentioned, like if like I said to you, like, you don't have to do this. The times that I've said that to you, the times you said that to me were times that I said to you, I don't know if I want to do this. And you're basically, what you've done for me at times is that you supported me in that, like, listen, whatever decision you choose to make, I got your back. Like, it's, if you don't want to do this, don't do it. If you want to keep on going, keep on going. But there are times that you said to me, and this is what I love about you, is that this is like where you'll give me that reality check. You basically be like, what is the rush for you? Like, you just started this business. And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, babe, like, look at everything you've accomplished in a year.
Right. And we've talked about this on previous episodes, I think, like, and I know it's just because you want more and you have these dreams, and that's amazing. But those dreams are still valid even if it takes 10 years to get there. Right? And that's just the reality of it. Like, what about the dreams that you've already provided for us? Right? Like, I don't think you give yourself enough credit for how much you've grown this business in 3 years.
It's tough. Like, it really is. Like, it kind of like chokes me up a little bit because it's hard to give myself credit.
I know.
It's hard for me to like, if I feel like I've got there, then I stop moving. And so therefore I need to keep on moving. And then it's like, I'm only as good as my last milestone that I hit. And so therefore I need to keep on going because I'm not where I'm at yet. And the thing is that, and the reality is, and this is just my mentality, and this is as I progress in business, I'm like this abundance mindset that it is, I want more.
Yeah.
And the thing is that I don't settle. And that's because I've settled for so long in my life. And so therefore I feel like, to you, when you do remind me of it, but it makes sense. But the reason why I feel the urgency is because, like, I'm not looking at it that I've been in business for a year. I look at it as I've been doing this for 15, 16 years, and I've wasted so much time.
Yeah, but take a second. Right. Take a second and appreciate what we do have. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's kind of like, and I think you've worked on that since I've brought it up to you. Like, right. Be grateful. Be grateful for everything that we have. And that's something that I've said to you so much. Like, we have such an amazing marriage. Like, we have amazing kids. We have a beautiful house. Like, we have great friends that, we've cultivated these relationships with. Like, we have our families. Like, be grateful, because I think the more you're grateful, like, the more good things come to you. And we've seen that,
Oh, right.
I just want you to take a breath sometimes. I just, like, sometimes I'm just like, hey, like, breathe.
Oh.
Literally,
No,
I've said, like, breathe.
There's times that, like, I'm, like, suffocated with like, the business that I'm literally, like, I'm, like, almost to the point of, like, don't want to say a panic attack, but like the thing is that like I'm just kind of
You
like
feel pressure.
I feel pressure. Like I'm just like this and
sometimes I'm just like, hey, Cammy and Cece want to show you like what they did at preschool today.
yeah.
Like just take a second and just acknowledge this.
Stop and smell the roses.
Yeah. Seriously.
Yeah, it's
like,
true. It's true. Like you need to dial back, and like you need to dial in. Most importantly, you need to dial in, and everything works out.
It
That's
does.
one thing you always said. It's like everything is always gonna work out. It's gonna work out.
It does.
And like we were talking about it this morning, you know, about like, oh, we just need this. We just need like if I can just get paid from these jobs, like we'll be good. We'll be good. And then all of a sudden, like, bing, 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 bing,
Yeah.
like all of a sudden, like, and then like now we're even more. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my god, like, and it's you can breathe for a second.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, all right, now we're good. Now we're good. And that's the thing is, it's like that's one thing I have to work on, the sense of that, like in making sure I maintain that abundance mindset and in that gratitude, but then also just because that instant gratification of getting that I let up off the gas.
Yeah.
And that's another thing too. And I think that's also what creates this. It creates that roller coaster ride of that, is that when we start experiencing that little bit of like success,
Yeah.
that it's like, this feels good. Like, yeah, I got this. And then all of a sudden you're like, you're not making the same moves you were making to get to that point. And then guess what? Now you're going back down. You're like, oh shit. Now you feel it. You're like, all right, let me start doing it again.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden things start coming on. You're like, yeah, I got this. And then you're like, you let your foot off the gas. It's like, yeah. Like it's like.
Yeah, no, I know. And I think that's a hard line for me too, because I want you to like relax with us and I want you to come do this with us or whatever, while at the same time knowing in the back of my head what it is that you do need to get done. And I've said to you before, like, I never want to nag you. It's just not my thing. Like, I don't want to sound like your mom. Like, I just want to be your wife. But I know from what, like, you've said to me before, like, there are times that you need me to be like, hey, like, you said you need to bid these 3 jobs. Like, go bid those 3 jobs.
Yeah.
Go do it.
And that's like one of the things that go into it too, is that, like, you know, something that I've read in another book. I tell you, like, I never thought I'd be reading books, but the way I do now. But you know, in one of the books I've been reading, and for some reason the title's escaping me right now. In the book, it says that basically is that procrastination is due to the fact of that you're doing something that you don't like to do.
Right.
And
It's not the fun part of business.
It's not the fun part of business. It's one of those things. It's the one things that I probably loathe. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that sometimes it becomes a wasted effort. Is that because, like,
you can bid a job and then someone might go with someone else.
Well, yeah, because the thing is, the shop at the lowest number and things like that. And that's the thing is, it's like, so therefore, to me, it's just like, well, I'd rather put my effort into something else that I know I'm going to receive a return in, right? But not knowing also the fact of, like, well, it's also a part of business. Like that's a part of it. Like, and I think in the book, they give a great story of, like, Steve Martin, the comedian, and how that in the beginning he sucked. And it was just kind of like the things that he hated to do was right.
Yeah.
And, you know, because he hated doing it, he never did it, and then therefore he never improved. But eventually he embraced writing, and then in how it evolved for him, and then it evolved and it made everything else better around him.
Yeah.
That he found his group, and then all of a sudden now he's, you know,
Steve Martin.
He's Steve Martin. Like it's one of those things. It's like, so when you think about it, well, the same thing, like even Mike Tyson says it. Like Mike Tyson says that he was like to be successful or to be a great at something, you have to wake up every day and do what you hate.
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of like, damn, like,
you're like, fuck, now I gotta go to bed.
I gotta go fucking go sit on the computer a bit. But it's true, and it's those things like, it's not about the good things, the money and the freedom, and it's this and that. The other things, it's doing the shit you hate, and like, you can't appreciate the good, or you can't have the good without the bad. Like, it's just one of those things. It's balances of life, and,
Right.
and it's just one of those things.
Yeah, it's super hard, right? Like, just to give an example, like, and I was absolutely pissed, and I didn't give you any grace in this situation, but like, when you missed Camila and Selena's dance performance
Oh, yep.
was probably a big low, right? For us, like, just like that, you see, like, not the dark side, because that sounds like evil, but like the not so fun parts of being a business owner. Because sometimes it's like, oh yeah, great, like, you can just not work on Friday, or, you know, it's my birthday, so like, let's just go to the beach and you can not work. But there are times that you get stuck on something and you end up missing things that it can be really upsetting to for you to miss them.
I remember that day, and it was something that, it was very difficult, because I remember that I was on this call. It was an emergency call. You think you got it all figured out, and then boom, there's another problem down the line, and it's because somebody else Mickey Moused it, someone, and like I said, it's like, happens on a Friday. Like, it's like, it's a Friday because everything just goes to shit, and it's just like, and like, every guy's like probably like listening to.
What are you guys calling it? Fuckery Friday. Right? That's what you guys always say on.
Yeah, it's just, you just know it's like, it's just gonna happen. Like, it's so everyone's like, exactly. It's just like, if you know it has that potential, like, not today, you're gonna go the other way. But it was like one of those things that I remember that I got into it, and then I was trying to, and I'm trying to get out of this call as fast as possible. Exactly, like, I never had that as a kid. Like, I remember doing things alone because I wanted to do it for myself.
Right.
But I remember I had nobody cheering me on. Like, how many football games, how many wrestling matches, how many concerts. I think I can remember my family coming to one chorus concert, and that was when I had a solo, and that was about it. And I can't remember all the games and things that I did on my own. And it's because I wanted to do it, but I had no cheering section. And it led to me always just, I did it because I wanted to do it. But since I was a kid, I like developed that mindset of like, you know, sometimes you just got to cheer for yourself. But life happens in a way that you forget that part. You just do it just to do it, but you don't realize it and how much more you need it when you get older.
Yeah.
And so for me, I carry that guilt when I'm in those positions. That whole entire time that I'm trying to get the hell out of that job, I am like, why am I here right now? And like, and I'm carrying that guilt of like, I'm not being there for my kids. I'm not being there for my wife. Now my wife's mad at me. Like, now it's this, now it's that. And it's like, and I'm feeling this tremendous amount of guilt, but then I'm thinking about it, I'm like, I can't, it was a no heat call in a retirement.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I can't leave a building full of people without heat. And me thinking, like, am I rationalizing this? Like, am I? And then I'm thinking about, well, it's our reputation. Like, how is this gonna go? Like, all of a sudden, this guy's gonna leave me a 1-star review. Like, oh yeah, like I am playing the review in my head. Guy freaking hightailed it out of here. Freaking left the house full of elderly people with no heat. And I'm just thinking, I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna ruin my business. Like, I'm gonna ruin this, I'm gonna ruin that. And like, all these things are going through my mind at the time. And I made a choice. I did make a choice, and I choose the business. And I chose the business at that time.
Right. And all that's going through my head at the time is like that thing that you see going around Instagram all the time. Like, the only people who are ever going to remember that you worked late are your kids.
Right. And that's the double-edged sword.
Yeah. It's
business. And like, that's the reality of it.
And I think it was exacerbated by the fact that the week, and this is like, I'm not shitting on Kyle. I'm just like explaining like the downside of the downside of being a business owner, right? This was exacerbated by the fact that the week before we had friends in town and we were meeting them at dinner and then to go to Zoo Lights with all our kids. And you got stuck on a call and missed the entire dinner.
Yeah.
And this was literally, I don't even know if it was a week before. I think it might have been like 3 days before or something. It was like very close together. And the dinner, I was like, okay, whatever. Like, I was annoyed, but I was like, whatever. You didn't do it on purpose. It's fine. We still had dinner together. You met us at Zoo Lights. It's fine. When it comes to the kids, it's super, like, it's like, for me, as I'm sure you can imagine, like, when I had a cheering competition, when I had a soccer game, when I had anything, my parents were there. My sisters were there. My grandparents were there. Probably some aunts and uncles were there. Yeah. My baby cousins. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
they're taking up a full section. Yeah. It's like 30 people that are there. And which
I always remember Carrie's college graduation. Like, no one has ever had this many people at a college graduation. No, like it's, you know what I mean?
People
like,
make the jokes about like Mexicans and stuff like that. But be like, cause it's like, yeah, yeah. It's like we get one ticket and like next you know, like we're counterfeiting our own tickets just so we can get in.
Yeah.
But and it's just like so fucked up. I was like, I thought we rolled deep. Like, no, you guys rolled deep, but that was the one thing that I wanted to do so differently.
Right, and you do. I mean, it's not like you're constantly not coming to the kids stuff, but for me, like, this one thing, like, the kids, like, and this is just the harsh reality of it, like, the kids were so excited that you were coming, you know? And just honestly, like, Cammie cried on the ride home saying, I thought Daddy was coming, right? And, like, you had to, you apologized to them.
Oh, my God. I remember when I got home, I hugged them and I cried, and I was like, I'm sorry I missed it. Like, I'm sorry, like, I got so caught up. And it killed me. And, like, she just kind of came over, she hugged me, and I was kind of like, I'm sorry, baby, like, and she was like, and, like, even, like, her, she's like, it's okay.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's not okay. And I told her that. I'm like, it's not okay. I should be there for you, and I'm going to be there for you. And I was like, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to figure out what it is I have to do. And it's those things, like, it's like those lessons, because I missed so much of my first kids. Like with like Kiara and Mia, I've missed so much in their life that, you know, when I think about it, like, and I think I've mentioned it before in a previous podcast episode of like with Kiara and riding her bike.
Yeah.
That was like my biggest thing that a lot of people don't realize. It's like I have a video up on my page like that I share for her birthday every year. And in the video, it shows me walking with her when I got her first bike.
Yeah.
And she's a little kid. You know, she's like 4 years old. She's a little kid. I'm walking right next to her. She has her training wheels on. And then it fast forwards to the day that I recorded her first riding her bike.
Yeah.
But she was a grown-ass kid. And in the video, if you listen closely, like my voice is cracking. Like, I was so proud of her because before that, I had to deal with her being so upset
with herself
and calling herself stupid because she didn't know how to ride a bike, and seeing her slam her bike. I'm never gonna get. I'm so stupid that I can't do this. And my little sister can. Like, here was me bombing around on her bike because at that time, like, I invested my time into her and she learned quickly, and I gave her tools for success. Like, I set her up for success. And she, boom, took to it. Versus Kiara, I chose to work to give her things that she didn't need when all she needed was me.
Yeah. And so this is like the catch-22, right? Because it's like, you have to work. You have to work as much as you do. Like, you're the sole provider in our home. We have bills. Like, we want the kids to have things that we never had. And that was something that not that we never had, but we want more for our kids, right? Like, and you said that to me, like, when I was so upset at you about missing the dance performance, Like, and it wasn't a recital. It was just a Christmas performance of like their dance. But you were like, they can't even do dance unless I work. Right. Yeah. And it's true. And like, I know that, you know, and there are days that I'm like, yeah, you know what? We're not going to see you all day. That's fine. Like, I know you have a ton of stuff to do. Like, that's fine. Go upstairs, close the door, like bang out the work that you need to work. Like, I know you're not coming to bed. Right. Like, I know I'm going to fall asleep and you're going to be there by your desk light, like typing away. Right. But then there are days that I'm like, come on, like I want to see you. I personally haven't spoken to another adult all day. Like, luckily, you know, the teenagers have good stories that they like to share with me. And, you know, and me is always good for a couple stories too. But like, I want to talk to you. Like, you're my best friend. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I talk to my sisters all day and I talk to my mom and stuff like that, but it's via text usually or whatever. And sometimes I don't hear another adult's voice, you know, and I'm like, sometimes we need you. And it's that push and pull, right? It's like,
right. But I also think that in basically like me telling all these stories about it and like those hardships is that in all of these things, I have two choices to make. Either A, I can let them be the reasons why my kids don't know me, or that in my kids' eyes, I'm unreliable, that I won't be there for them when they need me. And so therefore it turns into them not seeking me out when things get tough, right? And we can make the excuse of, well, I have to provide. And it's like how you said before, like, not everything is for you. There's times I need to learn to say no. Because there's sometimes that there are times when my kids need me, that needs to be number one, because they're only kids once.
Yeah, and I've said before, and it's just something I think about every single day when like the kids are telling me something and I'm like, okay, like, why do you know? But I'm like, they want to tell me this. They want, like, this is something so little, right? Like, this is a tiny thing to them. But if I'm not listening to them, when they get older, they're not going to tell me anything, right? And it's just kind of like what you just said. Like, they're going to be like, well, I can't, you know, and I'm not saying that because the kids seek you out for everything, you know, and they are very, like, they love you and they want you. Like, if you're there, like, they want you, all of them, right? But you don't, I guess my point is, like, you don't want to work so much that they're just like, well, dad's not here anyway, so why am I even going to bother?
Right. And that's, and ultimately that's like the point of like what this episode is for me is like, if there's any bit of advice that I could give to anybody, like when they ask me this, is like, in like listen to these stories, and that understand that there's no amount of money. And there's something that you said the other day, that there's no amount of success. I think that,
yeah, no amount of success and money and business will ever be worth the success of your family.
Right. And that, to me, is something that I had to learn, and I've learned it the hard way, and it's paid. I've had to pay it through wiping tears off my kids' eyes, because I chose making money over and providing for them when it's like they could give a shit less. And the thing is too, it's like, like we provide all these things, but it's just like, if your kid needs you, be there for your kid. Like, and because it's one day, like, that there's so much work out there that, like, and that's the thing is, it's like, there's certain jobs, like, and that's another thing too. It's like, when I think about it, the jobs that I would do at this, right? And all of a sudden, like, this person beats you up on the price, or they don't pay you, and it's just like, man, like, I killed myself for this.
Yeah.
And for what?
Right.
Like, I when I think about it, like those times that I wasn't there for my kids and I chose to go somewhere else, those jobs turned into nightmares. And I remember being like, man, I sacrificed not being there for my kids. And my kids, I upset my kids. And for what? Someone that could give two shits.
Yeah.
And for the money of what? Like the money to me was like, it wasn't even worth it.
Right.
It wasn't even worth it. And that's like the lesson that I learned. I'm like, you know what? Sorry. Like, I can't be there right now. And you can go somewhere else. And then at that point, if they don't call you, they want the customer for you. Or whatever.
There have been times that I've had to be like, no, you have to say no. Like, I think like just even like this past year, you know, my sister always hosts the party for the Santa parade because it goes right by her house. And we were out to breakfast, remember? And you got a call for an emergency oven or something in a restaurant. Something.
Yeah, I was at that place, the 99. It was like, commercial service.
I could see on your face you wanted to do it.
Oh, big time.
I could see on your face you wanted to do it. And one really good thing about you, and I think any guys listening to this that have their own business, like, you pretty much run everything by me. Like, I pretty much everything.
Yeah.
And you were like, what do you think? Like, should I go? And I was like, no. Like, this is a day we're not getting back with our kids. We're out to breakfast with our family right now.
My brother was there too.
Yeah, Charlie was there. Like, this is time that we don't always get. The kids are teenagers. They have friends. You know what I mean? Like, right now they want to be with us, right? Kiara's marching in the parade. Like, the kids are going to get to be with their cousins, and, you know, my parents are going to be there, and the guy at the 99 is not going to remember that you did this call for him 5 years from now. But the kids and I are going to remember that you were at the Santa parade with us every year.
Facts.
Right? Yeah. But I think, like, for me, if I could give any type of advice to wives of guys that own their own businesses, especially in the trades where the hours are not, like, you're not working 9 to 5 and whatever. And it's something I'm still working on. It's something I've gotten better about, but I still have to work on daily, is just like, give grace. You know that your man probably would rather be with you guys, but feels that pressure to provide, like, feels that pressure that the mortgage is coming out in a couple days, like, you know, that you guys need groceries, and, you know, that you're crazy and you want them to be all organic, and so you're spending $250 at Whole Foods every other day, and, you know, like they pay, yeah,
school bills, like this,
yeah, the
different things, right?
You know, and so I think, like, give him that grace, like, you know what? God, I'm so frustrated right now. Like, I need another adult in this house. Like, he probably wants to be home helping you. He probably does. I mean, if he's anything like you, he wants to be like...
One thing that you do that I don't know whether or not, if you know how much power it has, is that, like, you're great for that random, like, thank you for his working as hard as you do and giving us the life that we have. Like, that, like, is an absolute, like, it's like Popeye eating the spinach and, like, diddy, like, it is everything to a man. And in saying that, the effects that it has on us to keep us going, but as well as to hear you and us want to relay that same feeling you gave us and give it back to you.
Yeah.
In the sense of that, like, you know what? Like, I also appreciate everything you do here, and you hold it down at the house. Like, we're both doing what we got to do for this family.
Yeah, we're both working our asses off, even though I'm not bringing in a paycheck, but, like,
right. But it's like taking care of the kids, making sure that they're happy and healthy. And, you know, I have fresh clean work clothes, and you know, we have come home to meals, and like you'll meal prep for me, or like you'll do this, you'll do that, like, and how much of everything, it's not just me in this, you know what I'm saying? Like, and the thing is, it's not about like, oh, it's I'm making money or it's my money. No. It's like, or anything else like that. Like, it's the team. Like, it's everything that we do. Like, in like the amount of value that you bring and the amount of strength. Like, I think it all comes from you. Like, for me, at least that it's how it is for me. Like, I'm able to do the things that I do because of
Yeah, you would have to pay me a lot if I if I took in a paycheck, you know?
True.
But yeah, I do think it's like, just like I said, just give that grace, like be a team, because you're right. Like when you tell me like, babe, like, oh my God, like, you know, dinner was amazing and like, thank you like for making sure all my work clothes are clean, or like the house looks amazing, like, or, you know, God, I know you were driving all day today. Like that sometimes is like enough for me to be like, yeah, you know what? Like he might have had to work all day, but at least he took the time to say that to me.
Right. And then it's also like prioritizing my time with you. It's in the sense of that, like, whatever, because there was times like that like literally, like, I'll leave so early in the morning, I'll come back, and then it's like dinner, and then it's bedtime, and then it's like you're in bed. And like there's times that like I'm just like, I'm at the computer, and then I'm like, you know, I'll just shut the screen. I'm like, and I'll swan dive onto the bed, like, and just basically be like, and you're like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I just want to lay with you.
Yeah.
Like, and it's just like being able to do those things, because it's just, at the end, we're able to do what we can because we're in this together.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the biggest piece of advice I can give.